Formula Access. We have a legend today. He doesn't even need an introduction. I told you I'd be bringing the people of motorsports to your doorstep. Today, we bring you Mario Andretti. What an amazing conversation about how he got started in motorsports in war-torn World War II Italy. We then take the trip over to the United States, how he got into motorsports, him and his twin brother, how they hid it from their family, when their family found out, how he got into motorsports. We talk about Mario Andretti's pinch me moment. I mean, how could this guy have a pinch me moment? He is a pinch me moment for anyone that ever comes around him. A very, very amazing conversation. Guys, get ready. This is going to be a good one. Enjoy. Welcome, everyone. Formula Access, the place where I told you I would bring the people of motorsports to your doorstep. Today, we have the guy that got it all started. We have the founder of a racing dynasty within motorsports. Today, we welcome Mario Andretti to the show. Mario, welcome.
Thank you, Ryan. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for being here. I am greatly honored and humbled that you would even respond to my request. And I got to tell you that the people around me were like, "Wait, what? Who's talking to you?" You have an amazing history and an amazing story, and I've actually spent some time just kind of digging into just some of the stories that you have out there on other shows and other platforms that are available. And, you know, I'm astonished of just your generation in particular, and whether it's motorsports or any generation that you come from, because you're one of two people on planet Earth that has won races in Formula One, IndyCar, World Sports Cars, and NASCAR. I mean, drivers today struggle to win one of those. And I think it's a true testament to just the generation and the pedigree of human that comes from the Andretti family. So, you know, generally, I ask people to say who you are and what you do today. I don't think there's we all know who you are. We don't need to go there. But I think a lot of the just the news going around today is really, you know, around, you know, how big your motorsports dynasty has gotten, and the series that you continue to enter, and you are growing even today. But I want to go back to where it all began and really look at, you know, how did you get into motorsports?
Well, I'll go back to actually my early teens when we were still living in Italy, became attracted to the sport. It was just something that I don't know why. There was nothing, no background in the family. There was my immediate family. They were not, you know, motorsports fans or anything. It's just my twin brother Aldo and I just, for some reason, we took to it. And I keep saying this, you know, Italy was very prominent in Formula One in the 50s when Formula One officially began. But there was motorsports even before Formula One was official with, you know, Nuvolari, top, you know, drivers that were considered, you know, greats of all time. But I gravitated to Alberto Ascari, who was present world champion, you know, when I was about 12 and 13. And that's it. And then after having the opportunity to attend the 1954 Italian Grand Prix. That's 1 year before we immigrated to the States. I mean, the dream was cemented. And from there on, as I said, it was no plan B on my mind. Obviously, it seemed like the impossible dream, as you can imagine. But the pursuit was there, you know, in our own head. And as soon as we arrived in America, 2 years after arriving here, At age 17, we arrived at 15. By age 17, we started building a race car with the help of some local buddies to race locally. And my career started in 1959 in Aldo's. One car, two drivers. We had to alternate from one week to the other, but nevertheless, we made it all work. And again, 1959 officially to 1994, which was my last open wheel event at Laguna Seca. And I stepped out of the cockpit officially, but I ran three more 24 hours of Le Mans, where my last race was in 2000 at age 60. So as you can see, along the way, I was blessed, no question about it, to have been able to have such a long career and totally satisfy my most ambitious goals. Really, I take nothing for granted. I know just how lucky and blessed I've been. That's all I can say.
That's a fantastic story. I caught a documentary of that you had done in the past, and it was you in the streets of Italy with the downhill cobblestone roads where you raced. Were these go-karts or box carts or what?
Actually, there was a neighbor that I don't know why we sort of asked him to build us a little buggy, and he did, so we could run down the hill in front of our house and scare some of the little old ladies who were coming up, and that's it. I don't know. That's how I started. Then when we were in Lucca in a refugee camp, actually for like 7 years, there was another hill right next to the camp where we were, and there we were. We built another one of those buggies, and we're coming down the hill, just breakneck speeds and so forth. And I don't know. It was just something that we felt excited about. Again, I could never explain why we just went in that direction, but again, that burning passion, began then, and it, all it is became stronger and stronger, especially, once we got into the sport, once we started actually driving, and, the game is on, and could never get enough of it. And we just wanted to progress and progress and progress and have the most ambitious goals, to try to go after, even though it seemed ridiculous at the time, if you looked at the reality of where we were. But nevertheless, it all worked because many events, it just happened. And always look back as, what if this wouldn't have happened? What if that wouldn't have happened? And it propelled me to, to where I wanted to go. As you could see, basically when I was still driving midgets, I was thinking of Formula One. I'm just getting ready to be pushed off for the third feature of the day, which I won. I won 3 in one day in Labor Day 1963. And I'm thinking of Dan Gurney. I told him several times, Dan Gurney, that he just got a ride in Formula One. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, an American there again, after Phil Hill and whatever. So that there's a chance that someday, I will be the one, and, things like that. So you can see, I was always thinking way, way, way ahead, and why not? That's the way I look at it. You got to think big.
So even from the 1954 Grand Prix, the passion and the yearning to get into Formula One never died, no matter what you got into.
It just got bigger and bigger, obviously, no question about it. As you grow, you learn more, you see more, and again, it just and you're driven again by just desire and passion, and that's what it's been with me.
I mean, Mario, you came from like war-torn World War II Italy, and you went from buggies down a cobblestone road, to Bethlehem, to dirt track racing. And was there ever a different future in mind for you? Like, were you ever like, maybe I'll be an engineer or a mechanic or whatever? Or was it just like a racehorse?
Ryan, there was never a plan B. Maybe to be a priest at one point, because I was an altar boy for many years, and we had a priest in the family, Uncle Priest, who raised my dad, but that one was short lived. But as far as becoming a race driver, it never left my mind by any means. The mold was cast in Monza, and the mold just became more real and more appealing, and all of that. So it's just, again, looking back, it's so fortunate that a lot of things went into place. My dad, we had to build a car at age 17, 2 years after we arrived here, and we didn't dare tell my dad because, well, here's the thing, he was not a race fan, but you know what? The headlines were, I mean, the sport was cruel in those years. I mean, my idol of the day, Alberto Ascari, was killed just a month before to the States, and things like that. On the ship, Conte Biancaman, on the way to the States, we were at sea 9 days. Was during the weekend of the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 1955, and that's when they had a terrible accident with 85 fans killed. And there was a news bulletin every day, at the ship, and all of a sudden, big headlines. Now, for us to tell my dad, hey, we want to be race driver, oh, you crazy kids, you know what I mean? No way. So again, we had to do all of that, and in fact, start racing, and we were doing some winning locally, believe it or not. Actually, Aldo and I both won our first race, and we were winning crashes and all that. But at the same time, the only protection we had, the language barrier. My dad actually, the older folks had tougher time learning English. Aldo and I had 3 years of English in school, so that helped, the grammar, for us to get organized in that respect. But again, you could see that I didn't want to defy my dad, but I knew that he would not understand how passionate, I keep saying that, we were, and how determined we were to pursue this. This was not just a child play. Okay, we'll test it. We were all in. And again, obviously later on he became the biggest fan and all that sort of thing. But while we were still underage, in those days you had to be 21 to race legally, professionally. And we started racing at 19. We had to fudge our birth date on our license, on our driver's license. We had a local editor of the Nazareth Key, which still exists in the town where I live right now, the newspaper. He fudged our birthday. He did a hell of a job because it looked real. And then the biggest problem I had was to try to shed those 2 years, because I didn't want to be 23 when I was 21 and legal, so we had to fib here and there. I remember Chris Economaki, we had him so confused because we lied a bit, about, to be accepted to race locally. We were looking pretty young. We said, we used to race in Italy. We used to race Formula Junior in Italy and in Ancona. And so all of a sudden this is in the papers, and our my relatives in Italy, they're reading that, he's racing Ancona. Says, we don't remember you boys racing that. So you can see you had to have some imagination along the way.
So you and your brother were wildly ambitious, driven, and what did your father instill in you guys to create that? I mean, was this just God-given born
Well,
traits? What?
yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to really qualify that, except that, yeah, I mean, when it comes to my dad, here's one that, I mean, he lost everything that he worked for his entire life, and he was set for life, where he was before we were, determined to maintain the Italian citizenship when our land was occupied by hardline communism, Yugoslavia. Left everything, but he's able to, we were a refugee camp, but we were never hungry. We were never cold. He provided for us, so he was stable, solid, and, there's something to be said for that. So I don't know if that plays to some degree, because you always, even as a young child, you know that things are not normal, whether even though you haven't experienced, what is normal, but around you, there are things that are different. And then you figure, well, my dad is still, he's doing his thing. And again, I don't know if that played, but it's all, if the things seem right, as a young lad, I think it plays along the way.
So you went from being set for life to coming to America. I think I read something that you guys had $125 to your name.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. Yeah, it's my dad started over because he spent a lot of money that he had just to buy the tickets, to come to America, which I still have the tickets, by the way.
Did you come through Ellis Island, or were you sponsored?
No. My dad applied for visas in 1952 as a suggestion from an uncle we had here in Nazareth from on my mother's side, and the visas were accepted in 3 years later in 55. So it was decision time, but we came through by visa, and
Okay.
and you had to have a guarantor on this side that you would have a job, you'd have a job and a place to stay, but there was a visa, no Ellis Island. I think Ellis Island was disbanded in the year before, I think.
Okay. So my
54, yeah.
54. Okay. So in 1900, my great grandfather and also my grandfather came over from Asti, Italy. So we just went to New York a couple of weeks ago, and got to go through the records and see the ship that they came over on, and hear the stories. So luckily you got to bypass that. That's no place that I would have wanted to go as a young child.
No, it was a beautiful day. I got to tell you, it was a beautiful day, June 16th, 1955. Just summer, almost, and 5 a.m, and we're sailing past the Statue of Liberty. It was my sister Anna Maria's 21st birthday. How do you like that?
Oh,
And it was just really was just something that you never forget that that moment. Here we were at the bow of the ship, and she was just singing away the American national anthems which she learned, and that was kind of interesting.
that's an amazing story. It's amazing that you remember that like that vivid.
Yeah, those moments are just precious and important, because we're all excited. My sister was very vivacious, and she was one of those that she portrayed this thing in the best possible way. She was always positive. Oh, we're going to the land of promise, and this and that and the other, and just to arrive there on a beautiful day, looking, the background of the city line in New York and all that, and the first thing I remember just watching, you're seeing those yellow cabs, the color, they were just, oh man, oh look at that traffic. It was, I see it now, it's just amazing.
How on earth did you keep this away from your parent? The racing part. I mean, I come from a a very large Italian family. There are no secrets. I mean, none. And that's every family occasion is like a loud gathering of what's going on in everybody's lives. And how on earth did you keep that from them?
I don't know. I mean, I think because our, my immediate relatives, they all knew, obviously, and obviously they were born here, they spoke a language, but they all know that the big no-no was going to be my dad, and I think my mom knew. I think she would never, moms, they just know. And but my dad could have been really a stumbling block there, and we didn't dare chance that maybe he could have blocked us because we were underage and all that sort of thing, and so we just didn't dare do that. And he found out at the very last of the season when Aldo got hurt. Aldo was hurt and he was in a hospital, actually serious, and he was in a coma actually, and that's how he found out that we. So, and actually, he thought he was vindicated to some degree, if he would have known. But then the following year, when he learned that we, Aldo took a sabbatical, but that I was racing, then it was not pretty.
I'm a father. I get it. I totally get it. So you started dirt track, stock car, NASCAR, IROC, sprint cars, IndyCar, Formula One, and then back. I mean, so you've been in this world, in the world of motorsports, your entire life. I mean, would you even suggest this path to, say, a 6-year-old that wants to follow and be a Formula One driver? I mean,
why not? If you have the love, the will, and the passion, absolutely. I derived so much satisfaction out of having the opportunity to do what I did. I was, quite honestly, I mean, happy to be where I was, but not without curiosity, to see, okay, what's happening in sports car, what's happening here. I mean, I came through the dirt tracks.
mm-hmm.
And then the dirt tracks, then you run dirt track, paved tracks, and all that thing. I mean, I don't think you're going to see a Formula One driver that has won races on the dirt, in our lifetime anyway.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I had gone, even for one weekend through a dirt track to Formula One race myself, So again, that's, to me, it was golden, to be able to have that opportunity. Bobby Unser and I my first race was Watkins Glen in '68,
Mm-hmm.
very first. But the weekend before, we were supposed to be in Monza. It was supposed to debut in Monza, but there was a 24-hour rule. I qualified on a Friday, come back to the States, ran at the Hoosier 100 on a Saturday in Indianapolis, 100-mile race on Champ Cars, and then went back, and they won't let me start the race because of the 24-hour rule, which was agreed that they would waive it, but there was a protest. And then so the following, 2 weeks later, my real debut was at Watkins Glen for Formula One. But what I'm saying is, here we go from a Formula One car qualifying on a Friday to running the dirt track race at Indianapolis, finished second to Foyt, and then going back to Italy to try to be in my car was 7th on the grid there, and I only qualified, I only put a time in on Friday morning, and it was qualifying both days, Friday and Saturday, So we were in good shape because I had tested there, and I was quickest, actually. It was quicker than Chris Amon 2 weeks before in a Ferrari. So Formula One really felt really right for me, and the blessing was I was with Lotus, and it was a competitive car, and I was able to make the most of it. But I felt so good right away, in that car, because up to that point I had only driven, single seaters, Indy cars, which is a compromise, between oval and road course. They're much heavier, they don't brake as well. So when I got in a Formula One car, I was, oh, wow, this is the real thing for a road course, So things, were working my way, as you could see.
So even in the 80s, there was a massive difference. I mean, it was an entirely different world stepping into a Formula One car.
Well, the rules are different, Ryan. They were different then. The Formula One car much lighter, by rule. The Indy cars, obviously, because of the loading on the ovals, they just have a higher minimum weight because they have to be stronger. And so when you have that car in a road racing configuration, it's not going to be as nimble as a Formula One car, which is built specifically for road racing.
Yeah.
That's the difference. And that's why, I mean, I remember, we're talking even with Dan Gurney when he was in Formula One, and then he was driving some IndyCar races. And between he and I were pretty much first and second in all the road courses in Indy cars. And then we were talking about that, and he was saying, how much clumsier, so forth, the Indy car was as a single seater versus a Formula One car. But I had no idea or understanding of what he really meant until I got a chance to try it myself.
Would you attribute your success in motorsports to the fact that you have such a diverse skill set of cobblestone, dirt, ovals, road courses, different builds, different cars?
Well, Ryan, experience is experience. I attribute some of, I think I did pretty well on wet tracks, and, probably one of the wettest races in Formula One history in '76 in Japan. But dirt racing is like driving on a wet road course because conditions changing almost every lap. And can change dramatically from the beginning to the end of the race, and you adjust to all that. Just look for grip. You just run different lines through the corner. Just look. That's what you do on the dirt. I attribute some of that, my dirt track racing to actually being able to adjust and adapt to that, to conditions in the wet, and in so many ways. Sometimes. And Europeans say, well, the Americans can't drive in the wet and so forth. Well, don't say generally, some maybe can, but some do very well in the wet. So that type of, for many of these reasons.
You're going to start a movement here with all this talk about your success. You're going to have drivers running over to rally racing and dirt track racing. And
no, we had several, look at the Fernando Alonso, he wanted to, do, sports prototypes, Le Mans and Indianapolis and all that. And I like to see that. I think it's great for the sport to see this exchange. Look at Jimmy Johnson coming out of stock cars, 7-time champion. Would he need to be an Indy car? Yes, he does. Because why? Because that's what he wanted. He was curious. And I have a lot of appreciation for what someone that's willing to do that and has that passion, to maybe even risk some reputation to some degree, if you will, but just be curious and satisfy yourself. There's a lot to be said for that. I know, like I said, I know how well it worked for me from my point of view and obtaining so much satisfaction out of that. And the other thing is not to just be there, just to win, nothing like winning, in somebody else's sandbox, at their rules, what I mean, if you will. So that's really that's the way you put it, to some degree. And that's where the pure satisfaction comes in. Can you imagine how I felt, unknowingly going into my full debut in Formula One at Watkins Glen, and then I'm on pole, and who's alongside of me? Current world champion, that's Jackie Stewart. I slept very well that night, and you know what I mean? It's moments like that figure, man, this is really good. I mean, the sport is really, that's my life,
I mean, you went toe to toe with the greats and won.
that's, like I said, that's the ultimate, that you could experience. And that's why I just know how blessed I've been, to have had that opportunity.
So to step back a bit, I mean, this is this is a huge sacrifice for your family. I mean, was getting into motorsports as expensive and difficult as it is today? Or was it just was it more of a meritocracy? If you win, everything fell into place.
Well, if you win today, also, if you have the opportunity, whatever you are, if you win, you don't have to pay your way. People will want you. I think if you show, that you have the ability and so forth, people want you. You don't have to pay for the way to get in there. There are many, there's no standard way, to really approach this. Quite honestly, I mean, it's never easy. I scraped and I did a lot of things, along the way to try to get to the next level. For me, it was just like going to school. You start at first grade and you go on. Then you want to be at the university, the very top, and graduate. And that's the objective. Like I started with sportsman stock cars. Next thing was 3/4 midgets. You win there, then you got full-size midget, you win that, then you get sprint cars, you win there. You go to champ cars, you win that, and then ultimate Formula One car, Formula One, and you win there. And then the objective is to try to do that, to try to win where you are at the very top. You can't go any further, but maybe win some more. And then what does that mean? It means championships. So that's the way I was always looking at it. But I never wanted to stay at the level, even though, if you're winning at the lower level, man, you want to get out, you want to progress and take that advantage until you get to where you want to be at the very top. And then, that's the work really begins to try to, to see if you can stay there. But because I always say, and I would advise to anyone, you're coming through the ranks. And if you're winning there, don't think that because you're winning this year, you're going to keep winning the next year, even though at the lower rank. When you win, get the hell out, go to the next step, and take advantage of where you are at the moment. You see what I mean? So,
did you ever feel settled? You don't seem like the kind of guy that.
No.
Good.
No.
You had I read an interesting story, and there wasn't much meat in it, but you almost ended up at Ferrari prior to your championship winning season at Lotus. What was the story? Because you were dealing directly with
Mr. Ferrari.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was twice. I won. I won my very first Formula One race with Ferrari in South Africa in '71, and then I won 2 consecutive races, which was twin 100s at Ontario. They were non-championship, but I finished. Jackie Stewart finished second to me both races. But they had Formula One and Formula 5000, which had some of the American drivers like Bobby Allen, Sir Foyt, and Mark Donahue, as part of it. It was really quite interesting. But after, winning these doubles, then I was invited to be number 1 at Ferrari in '71. I just couldn't afford to do it though, because the financial, the earning power just was not there in Formula One at the time. And I had to think of the family in that respect, because, it was not as safe, the sport as it is today. There were some potential issues there where the sport could be cruel. And I had a young family. I had a young family very early in my life, and with Deanne, and you talk about being selfish, obviously. My time was on the racetrack, was not in the picnic, on the weekends, with the family. So I had a wonderful lady, Deanne, that took care of all that, and never, ever, ever made me feel guilty for me pursuing my passion. She was actually always behind me, knowing how badly I wanted it. But all these things, are part of life. And but anyway, I don't know where I'm going with that part, but
But she was instrumental in helping you negotiate that, right?
she was like with Ferrari. Actually, the second time yeah, she was sitting next to me. We were talking Italian, so she didn't understand. But now and then I would ask her, "What do you think about this and that?" And she was making the right suggestion. The end was very. She was on it, and that was interesting. But she was part of everything with me, obviously, all the important things. And again, the reason that it didn't happen the second time, which was in '77, at the end of the season, which I won the Italian Grand Prix, and then he invited me, down there, and already had a handshake with Colin Chapman. And Colin said, "Don't go." I said, "I have to." So I went down there, and we spoke, and we sort of made a tentative deal, but I didn't know that Mr. Chapman, followed me there, and he kind of, he had a very quite a conversation with Mr. Ferrari. So Mr. Ferrari says, "You better let it go," and I stayed with Colin, which obviously ultimately was the right decision anyway, because of the cars that he gave me and everything, and we won the championship. So, but the fact that Mr. Ferrari invited me to substitute, in the terrible season they had in 1982, with losing Gilles Villeneuve and then Didier Pironi, and asked me to substitute Didier, when he was killed, and then doing it at Monza, and then be able to put the car on pole there, and I almost won the race. I finished third, but we had a mechanical right at the end of the race. I was leading and lost the turbo on the left bank, and so I got overtaken. But it was, what a wonderful thing for me to be able to wind up on a podium on my last race, Formula One race, and with a Ferrari in Italy.
Why did you decide to leave Formula One?
Well, I think I made some wrong decisions when I was leaving Lotus. I had an opportunity to go with McLaren and or Alpha, basic same sponsorship, and I went with my heart. I went with Alfa Romeo, and it's a long story why that did not work out, but they didn't conform with some of the things. They had that 1981. You had to cheat to be able to comply, and everybody was, except Alfa Romeo wouldn't on the rule. There was a ride height rule, and that hurt us so bad because the car was competitive, and unfortunately, then I just had a bad taste, and all the good seats were already taken at that point. And so I figure I'm not going with a lesser team, unless it's a top team. And so I figure I'd come back to Indy cars, which was good because after that I won 18 more Indy car races and other championships. So I think, there's no regret there, by the way. It's just that I felt my objective was accomplished in Formula One, and then even had the opportunity, to race one more time, in Formula One and wind up on podium. I said, I could not want anything more than that.
How did you, I'm trying to word this right. You have 3 generations in motorsports. I mean, your son and your grandson are all in motorsports.
My brother's side as well.
Was it just, I mean, I know what it's like to be at the track. I mean, I've gone to the track and my son karts. And so, I know that the addiction is very strong in motorsport. Yeah. It just had the same passion.
Well, these kids are born in this environment, so the same thing with my kids, with Mike and Jeff. They're a year apart, in age, and Michael the oldest, and I put Michael in a go-kart at age 9. and it was like duck to water right away. I said, oh, whether he really enjoyed it or not, I don't know. But I mean, and I said, you know, you don't have to do it unless you want. But I'm doing it. I want to do it. And the difference there is that if they wanted to do it, I know I could pave the way for them. You know what I mean? They didn't have to fight or hide or do any of the things that I did, you know. And sometimes that's not even as good because for me, it's something I couldn't have. So when I finally got it, I said, oh man, you know what I mean? It was just like much more appreciation for it. For them, sometimes I said, you know, why don't they seem to really enjoy it as much as I did? Because it was there. I mean, they had to do it. And like Michael, I mean, there was, I don't know anybody that was more focused or anything, you know, with his driving. And like he said, he said, the thing about my driving is that I was just afraid of losing. That was his way to phrase like I really want to win. I have to win. You know, I was afraid of losing. And you know, Jeff was following. You know, he followed Michael, and Jeff was almost like my brother. They were just unlucky as could be. Like if there was something happening on a track, was happening in front of him or something, you know, and just the last accident that put him out, you know, ended his career, you know, left rear wheel come off at Indianapolis, and he's almost head on in turn 2, 84.7 G was the impact. He should have never survived it. You know, he almost lost both his legs. I mean, you know, it's just that I take nothing for granted. That's what I'm saying. You know, Jeff versus Michael, Aldo versus me. I mean, it wasn't. Why were we so fortunate? Why was Michael like me so fortunate, and Jeff wasn't? Was my brother wanted it just as badly as me, but I was the one that was dodging the bullets, so to speak. How do you explain that? You see what I mean? And but that takes you back to take nothing for granted. You know, I know how fortunate I was, you know, just being able to, you have no idea, a couple of situations that should have been the end, and I just escaped it, you know, one at Brands Hatch and one in Canada, you know, but just by last second, something happening, I was saved, you know. So like I said, I know, like I said, I keep saying, I know how blessed I was. That's all I can say.
Did motorsports and Michael, even in Jeff, did that bring you guys closer? Something to connect over as father and son?
Yes, for sure. Because, you know, we had this common love for something and understanding and part of the conversation. And all that. Absolutely. Yeah. No question about it.
My son is.
We're all going in the same direction, if you will. Just can you imagine, like, even could I have ever planned, you know, to be on the same racetrack with my own 2 sons? You know, I was at Le Mans, you know, with my Michael and a couple of times, and then my nephew John, you know, the same family. We were at Daytona 24 Hours, Michael, Jeff, and myself. And you see what I mean? And as a father, oh my goodness, you know, you pinch yourself, you know, just loving it so much. And here I got my sons sharing it with me. You know, in Indy cars, if you look at the statistic, Michael and I were on podium 15 times in an IndyCar race. And we were first and second, started on front row 10 times, and 5 times 1-2, you know. So can you imagine, you know, just you know, how sweet that was in every way. So you know, the sport has done so much for us, and there's so much love and appreciation for it, as you can imagine. You know, it's just and it all started to me in Formula One. Formula One has been, you know, my first love, and will always remain that way. And that's why we're so set into pursuing that. Michael feels that he has work, you know, unfinished work there, you know, things didn't go the way they should, when he was driving, when he drove the 1 year. But Formula One has given me everything that I was dreaming about, even though it was, not the main part of my career, but it satisfied my ultimate dreams. And, how can I just love that, and that will stay with me forever, so.
Do you feel like Michael's more at home as a driver or a team owner?
Well, he was at home as a driver when he was driving, but I think his objective was always, that's why he came out of the cockpit, at a relatively young age, when he was still at the top of his game at 42. And he relishes he relishes the business side of it, if you will, and expanded. He's not content, not satisfied where he is. He spreads his wing and he wants to be like at the very top. What is the top? It's the Olympics of motorsports, which is Formula One, and that's his absolute objective. And he's relentless about it, and I respect that. In fact, I'm very proud of that.
When you say that, it reminds me of your very famous quote, about if everything's under control, you're not going fast enough.
That's right.
How did you get this into his DNA? I mean, it sounds to me like he's just taken that and run with it. Yeah,
you either have it or you don't. I always say that you either have that on your belly or you don't. And he saw something, I think, at a young age, and everything that he's done, I can see throughout. He always wanted to do better than me, which I love that. And he's succeeded in many areas, especially on the business side. And I just like that attitude. And again, once he sets his mind to pursue something, I tell you what, get out of the way. I mean, he's on it.
So earlier in the year, I had the privilege of spending some time with your team and at the St. Pete Grand Prix. And, that was my first IndyCar event. My wife and I have been Formula One fans for 20 some odd years and just love it. I mean, she's been injured on the couch watching a race. She just gets so excited about it. And I couldn't have asked for a better wife. But our first IndyCar race, I was invited to your hospitality area. I get to spend time with a lot of the Andretti people. And I was very taken back at the culture of the team and just how grounded and approachable and, driven the team was. How on earth have you guys been able to at that level maintain that culture?
Well, you have to, it's got to go by example, quite honestly. I mean, you try to surround yourself with people that really want to be there with you, want to pursue the same thing, that have an ambition. I mean, the average individual, will not do, quite honestly. You have to just really, they have to want to share something with you. And you don't have to put on an act, to show the passion and the will to achieve, and show and how we share all of that, because we're all in it together as a team. You can't do it alone, and everybody has to contribute, but they will be noticed. And you want people that actually have a certain appreciation for that, and they have to know that I'm working my butt off, but they know it. And when we win, we all win. And we always say, we win and lose together. We don't want to lose, and keep working the other way, So, like I said, it's I just love that, even some of the the outside, we are a couple of really, I think, quite successful outside businesses we have, and the model is the same thing. Is it's about motor racing. I have managers on that side when they report something. Hey, Mario, we just won another race today. You know, in their business, you know, you winning. You try to just go that. That's satisfaction. You know, that's the reward that you get for your hard work. You know, I can never explain, you know, the exhilaration of winning. Like when I won my first race, I figured, man, now I don't want to finish second anymore. You know what I mean? You just, you, you don't want to accept all that. And that makes you just work that much harder. You want to experience it over and over again. You know, it's and you're never satisfied. I mean, something good, you keep wanting it, you know, and that's it. That's when life is precious.
It sounds to me like the culture of your family generationally is to lead the charge. You know, you think of, you know, great leaders, you know, are on the front lines with their people. And I feel like I've witnessed that, albeit one race. I feel like I witnessed something really, really special, and I was not expecting that at all. It's a really neat thing to watch within your outfit.
Well, it's all driven by love and passion.
On that note, I am personally always enamored by very, very successful people that have navigated a successful marriage as well. And I, you know, 56 years of marriage for you, I'm coming on 20. What is the key to success and a marriage and that? I mean, that's hard at your level. There's a lot of outside pressure. And how do you, I mean, what advice do you have for our generation that doesn't?
For me, I mean, it just some of it is maybe even by luck to just be able to connect with a person that loves you so deeply, and you love them, so you know that nothing adverse will ever affect that relationship. I give my wife so much credit for, as I told you earlier, I know, even reflecting and now, how selfish I was, you know, throughout my career, because it was all, you know, me, you know, like I'm on the road. Like sometimes she says, Mario, how come you just booked another race and you're supposed to have a weekend off? Well, you know, and then, but she understood that. She never ever clouded my mind by making me feel, you know what, maybe I should have been doing that picnic with them. I should have gone, you know, somewhere with the kids. And but then at the same time, I included them. You know, they travel all over the world with me. You know, the end did. And ultimately, you know, even the kids, sometimes, you know, when they got to the age, I would take them even one at a time, you know, so you spend more quality time for that 3, 4, 5 days a year together. You just try to make it. And, you know, I was fortunate, you know, really early on, like in the late 60s, I bought my very first airplane. What was that doing? It was not extravagant. It was that really allowed us to go travel together, because you can do a lot of those things if you do it all commercial, you know. So I did that to be able to facilitate my movement, but also I could add the family there. And I don't care where we were, like even in this country, we were sleeping in our own table. I mean, in our own bed that night or in the middle of the night. You know, there was a lot of things like that that worked, and didn't have to take the kids out of school because, you know, you couldn't be it. And, you know, so we worked it, you know, we worked it. We did the best that we could, you know, to try to make everything work, you know, on both sides. But you have to have, there's always got to be understanding, you know, between the couple, you know, between your partner, your, you know, your love, your, it's got to be your best friend, and at the same time, and again, never look over your shoulders. You know, I'm the way I thought I was blessed, and I am fortunate. And again, I miss her every day because of that.
What a good word. What a good word. Okay, so in Formula One, so that's, that's the passion of Formula Access and just what I've done. This is not my day job, but in Formula One, like what for you was the pinch me moment where you just thought, I can't even believe that I'm here experiencing this particular situation?
Well, actually, Colin Chapman has given me so much because let me tell you, I had started when 1965 was my rookie year at Indy, and I finished third, and Jim Clark won. And Jim Clark was rookie the year before, so I was rookie, and there were events we were together. I tried real hard to befriend Colin and Jim because of Formula One. And when we were saying our goodbyes after the Monday banquet, I said to Colin, Colin, someday I'd like to do Formula One. And he said, Mario, when you think you're ready, you call me and I'll have a car for you. Now, can you imagine what that did for me? Because that was the objective in 65. And then, here we go in 65, 60, I win national championship. And USAC started having road races. I lobbied like crazy for that. I joined the Le Mans, the Ford Le Mans program, and I befriended Bruce McLaren, and he and we won the '67 Sebring, in race and together. And then in '68, I figured I think I'm ready, and I called Colin. He had a car for me, and then putting it on pole. Oh my God, I was in seventh heaven, because I said, the reality. I mean, could I have ever hoped for that? No. But did I think that maybe, in back of my mind, I said, that's what I'm going to go for? Yes. But you only have that feeling when you're in the car. Not when you're outside the car. When you're in the car, now I can do it. And it was just, I was hell for bent, just to go for it. I was risking quite a bit, because, I didn't have a lot of experience with that car. And then I was really at the limit, but it worked, So, and once you get that and you get that feeling, I said, now I feel like I belong. And this is my world. And oh God, there's no better feeling than that.
I love. What didn't you expect?
When you are facing the unknown, deep down, there's I never dwelled on the potential negative though. I always, I know I can do it. I know what I know I can do it. You know what I mean? You keep that positive inside of you, like I know I can do it. I know my chance is now. Do it. Don't screw it up.
That takes an immense amount of emotional maturity when sitting there with a team owner and saying, I think I want to do Formula One. Well, when you're ready, I've got a seat for you. I would have said, let's go right now. You were very methodical in your approach.
Wasn't ready then. No. No, I know that part. I was ambitious, but not that stupid.
So I have a question. So I started writing a blog about a year ago. It's become, the largest blog in the world for Formula One and the business behind Formula One. So I have a large following that asks me a lot of questions. I don't know where I've gained this credibility, but it's there. The main question that I get from readers is, I'm 14 years old, I'm 4 years old, whatever, and I want to be a Formula One driver. Can I do it? And I've had them as old as 40. What you have an actual baseline of what it takes to do that from almost every vantage point of motorsports. What would your advice be, or what would your answer be to that person asking the question.
Well, I get that question a lot too, as you can imagine. And sometimes the question comes to, what's the easy way to do it? There's no easy way, number one. And if there was a formula, a specific formula, I would bottle it and sell it. You could probably ask 10 different drivers how they arrived to where the level that they are now, and you get 10 different stories. I think it's all driven by how much do you want it?
Yeah.
It's got to be driven by desire to do it. And you find a way, because there are ways. There are ways to do it. And you don't have to be, say, wealthy specifically. You have to have a wealthy mind to want to do it. Not wealthy monetarily, because there's very inexpensive ways, to even test you when you're very young, like even a go-kart or go to a driving school, which sometimes you have driving schools that have some competition and all that. You find a way. I mean, and again, today, like never before, there are opportunities. You have ladder systems, that start right from the beginning. And remember this, I'll tell you this, that talent, exceptional talent, will never go wasted. People watch, people see, people will notice something exceptional about this individual. Man, you find a way. There's just, you'll not fall through the cracks if you have something real going. So keep always the young lad, whoever it is, keep that in mind, but how badly do you want it? That's really that's the first question you ask yourself, really, I really want it. I don't have a plan B.
So I imagine you get approached by a lot of dads and young drivers, and oh, this is what I want to do, and how do I do it, and can I race for you? What is outside of winning, what's that trait that you're kind of looking for when you're having these conversations?
Well, again, I keep saying this. Do you want to really commit to this? That's really what it is. Or it's okay, if I don't do this, I can do something else. Your mind should not wander anywhere else. That's what it is. And I think that goes with any sport, quite honestly. If you're really, really serious about making a life of it, and really wanting to enjoy your life doing that, I always say it's either in your belly or not. How it goes there, I don't know, to be honest with you. But again, if I really had a specific formula, but I don't. It's just I see, I could spot immediately if it's something that the individual really wants, or if it's there because maybe it wants to satisfy somebody else, not him or herself.
That's a good word. I think that applies everywhere, not just in motor racing. Okay, so I don't want to get into Formula One plans. We can leave that for the news people and the press. If Formula One rolled out the red carpet to the Andretti family and said, "We want you," would you prefer to start a team from scratch? Obviously with an engine partner, but would you prefer to start from scratch, or would you prefer to pick up another team?
At this stage, no question, a preference to be able to start from scratch because of some of the things that I think could be happening because of that. But by hook or crook, we want to try to enter it. And if the opportunity comes to enter by buying, purchasing an ongoing team, they're not, that many available. I think there could be one. But if that's a last, less possibility, you go that way as well. I know that Michael just wants to be in it every possible way that it makes sense. He wants to be able to meet all the requirements, to say, go through the protocols, yeah, fine. Just tell us exactly what we need to do, and that's what, we're ready to answer the bell here.
I I know when the murmurs started hitting the news, I was really, really excited about the possibility of Michael's vision of, acquiring a team, starting a team, whatever that is, but to really just take the momentum that Formula One has accumulated in the United States. And
Yes.
to me, that vision of Michael's throws fuel on the fire. And you now have a hometown hero, you have a hometown team, you have a hometown drivers. Like, he's checked off all of the boxes of success. And I'm sitting like a giddy child on Christmas Eve, waiting for the announcement to come that it's done.
Thank you. We are too. Yeah, it's here again. We want it very badly, and we want to be able to contribute. And the best part is that Michael has some really, really solid partners which share with the ambition. And with this type of investment, you look to be there for the long term, the long pull. And it's got to be something, valuable even to Formula One to be able to have a new investment like that, and commitment, if you will. I mean, especially now they're going to next year be 24 races. I mean, that's a lot of strain on these teams. Go from continent to continent, and the stress on all of the the team members, mechanics that obviously talk about family life, and to ensure that you're going to have a full grid, from race to race and all that. I mean, the insurance of having 11 teams, even 12 teams on a grid, I think makes sense, quite honestly. And it's a great bubble that Formula One is experiencing right now. Feed the bubble, especially here in the United States, that probably have interest like we've never seen. And what's wrong with having a very committed group here to join the party here? That's what we're trying to do, and serious as serious can be about it, because this is our life. This is our life, and we've been accused of saying, "Well, you only have passion. You don't know it's a business." Well, business. I've been making a living, from day one, from in racing. So it is a business, but it's a business that we love. There's nothing wrong with having a passion for the business that you're making a living with.
I don't see, maybe other people don't see that, the Andretti name is important to you. I think it's important to Michael. I think it's important to everyone that's a part of this project, is, your passion to win and succeed. That's your name, your reputation that you've spent your entire life building. And, nobody half does that when that is on the line. Your name is your name, and your word is your bond. And so I really want to see this happen. Obviously I have no influence on whether it does or not, but I do hope that the platform, that we provide allows fans and, even people of the sport to see that it's not just it's not something that you want to do, but it's something that you need to do, and you know how to do it right. You don't get to where you are today if you have no idea how to build a successful team.
I really appreciate every day the support that we get from the fans around the world, and that has always been very, very important, very strong. It's a motivating factor as well, because then it is showbiz at the end of the day too. So you want to show off, and if you have fans, you want to make them happy if you can. At least it's all part of it. It's all what that drives you, if you will. And we're getting so many positive vibes, always, from the fans, and that's so encouraging, to have that. It's precious, precious, precious.
It really is. It really is. Mario, I just want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for just taking time out of your busy schedule, your busy day, your way more important things to do, to just sit down and tell your story and just, talk about your journey through life. I know people will be really excited to hear that.
I enjoyed the chat with you.
Mario, you're always a pleasure to be around. Like I said, in St. Pete, I remember leaving and telling my wife, I was like, wow, he's just such a nice, normal guy. Like he's not blinded by
normal anyway.
He's so grounded, which it's rare at your level. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I hope every other fan could experience that at one point in their life. That was special. So thank you.
Very kind. Thank you.
Thank you, Mario.